Hi, I'm Dr. Kevin Skinner. Today I want to share with you 5 rules for parenting post-divorce. Now, I want to jump right in, but before I do that, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been practicing for almost 30 years, and I actually grew up in a home where my parents divorced. So what I want to share with you is from my personal experience, but also from my professional experiences. I've worked with individuals who have grown up in homes where their parents divorced, but also parents who are coming to me saying, how do I best help my child? I want to give you 5 specific things you can do to help your child adjust post-divorce. First of all, we have to be aware of our emotional energy. Here's what I mean by that. As a parent, you are emotional. Your children are observing. They know your tears. They know your frustration. They know when you're angry. Because as children, we pick up our parents' emotions. It's just inevitable. It's going to happen. So be aware of the emotional energy that you're sending to your child. There's going to be days of tears and frustration. You're dealing with an ex-spouse. You're dealing with attorneys. You're dealing with bills. You're trying to adjust to doing everything. Whereas before, hopefully, there was some kind of a partnership. But if not, you're still doing it all. The consequence here is your children are picking up those emotions. So we want to make sure that our emotions are in check. And what I mean by that is, how do our emotions influence our child? Are you witnessing maybe some more sadness or depression in them, or anxiousness? That's a question for you to consider. So I'm going to invite you to consider your children or child, depending on if you have one or more. I'd like you to think about, as an assignment, think about each child, write down some of the emotions that they may be picking up from you and how that may be influencing them. Now, this is a hard thing to do. I know you're already going through a lot, but as a parent, it's important to be aware of the emotions that your children are picking up from you. And we want to make sure that we're showing them the range of emotions. So if you're angry, I am frustrated, but I've got to work through that. That's not on you. I am sad. I didn't want it to turn out this way. And I didn't want you to have to experience this. I want you to know that you matter to me. So be attuned enough to recognize the emotional expression that your children are getting from you. So rule number 1, be aware of the emotions, the energy that you're putting off, and be attuned to that so you can send other emotions if they're not positive, but you can let them know that you can still have positive experiences. Hey, let's take a break. I know it's been very stressful the last few days or weeks or months. Let's just go for a bike ride. Let's go out and go for a hike. Let's do something because I want to get away from all of this. So rule number 1, be aware of your emotions and observe each children, how they may be picking it up from you, and protect them from emotions that are overwhelming them. Children need to feel safe. They need to know that there's security, and they need to know that they're loved. So be aware of your emotional energy. Number 2, avoid criticizing your ex-spouse. I tell my clients over and over and over again, you can do more damage by criticizing your former spouse than anything else. Because if you're criticizing your former spouse, your children may begin to think, oh, they're going to criticize me too when I'm not with them. So children are very observant. If you're criticizing, putting down, getting the child caught in the middle, what we call triangulating them into it, it's going to be very hurtful for them. And eventually they will pull away from you, and perhaps both you and your ex-spouse, because they don't want to be caught in the middle. So rule number 2, avoid criticizing your ex-spouse. And I'm going to strongly recommend this. Make sure that if they are in that kind of a situation, that you are approaching it from a place, I don't want you to be caught in the middle of this, because that's not something that I think you need. So rule number 2 is avoid getting critical of your ex-spouse and getting them in the middle. Rule number 3, each child is going to experience the divorce separately in their own unique way. If you have one child or more, take time to think about each of your children and how you think they may be experiencing it. And then you may approach them and just talk with them openly. Hey, I'm wondering how it's been a few weeks or months since the divorce. What have been some of the challenges that you've been going through? I'd love to understand. So make sure that you're attuning to them independently, because sometimes people think, oh, they're doing just fine, and this child, they're doing well. Well, maybe one is, maybe one isn't. But often children, they don't do it at the same pace. And sometimes they don't talk about it at the same pace. So maybe one's ready to talk about it, one isn't ready to talk about it. So remember, they're going to do it at different paces based upon their individual experiences. The next part of it is similar to that. It's ask, listen, and be patient. Here's what I mean by that. when we ask questions, how is it going for you after the divorce? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the good things? What are some of the things you've experienced? I don't want to talk about it. That's okay. I just want you to know that I'm here to listen because I care, and I'd like to hear a little bit about what it's like for you. As a parent, you might actually share a little bit of what it's been like for you. I really had a hard time these last few weeks. It's hard to adjust, or these last few months, or the last year or two has been really hard to adjust. And I want to make sure that I'm there for you because I know that it's been very stressful for all of us. And I feel like I maybe haven't been as close to you as I'd like to be because of all the things I'm trying to do. But please know that I want to be here. And if you ever want to talk, I'm here to listen. I really am. I would love to listen just so I understand what you're going through. So ask, listen, be patient. The be patient part is they may not come in the beginning, and you may think they need to talk. They need to talk. We can't force them. So we want to do it what we call parallel, side by side. We don't talk with children eye to eye. We generally talk with them parallel because they're more comfortable talking with us that way. Sometimes it's because of the power differential as a parent. Side by side, they feel a little bit more comfortable and are more likely to open up. All right, the fifth rule, very important, make sure that your children know that you love them. One of the biggest mistakes that we can make as parents is we think that they just know that we love them. But if you've stopped loving dad or you've stopped loving mom, will you stop loving me too? It's not an uncommon thing for children to question, do you love me? Will you love me? Will you stop loving me? So make sure you reassure them. I just want you to know that even though dad and mom or mom and dad, that we have divorced, it doesn't mean that I don't love you. I will always love you no matter what. You are my light. You are my happiness. And so I will always love you. And I am sorry that it didn't work out between us, but it doesn't mean that I will stop loving you. You will always be a love of my life. Reassure your love. Ask, listen, be patient. Make sure that your children are able to get to the point where they're going to understand you're going through it with them. Avoid being critical and be aware of your own emotions. Those 5 things will help you as you parent post-divorce. Thank you very much.